In just a few hours, the man accused of gunning down the CEO of United Healthcare is set to appear in a state court in Manhattan.
Luigi Mangione faces murder and terrorism charges in the death of Brian Thompson last December. Joining us now is attorney Rachel Fiset. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. You know, you look at this case, prosecutors obviously have condemned the killing. While those frustrated with the healthcare industry have called Mangione a hero in some cases. Are we going to hear evidence today? Can you explain how this case is different from the federal case he's also facing?
This is a status conference in the state court case where he is facing multiple counts of murder, some in the first degree, some in the second degree, and the prosecutors have added a terrorism charge to the first degree murder because New York state law actually requires a special circumstance to get to first degree murder, and they have loaded up that charge with a terrorism special circumstance to get to the possibility of a first degree conviction, resulting in a life sentence in prison. And that terrorism charge is not normally what we're thinking of when we think of terrorism, which is overthrowing the government or big groups of people. But there is room inside of that special circumstance for an argument that it applies here, meaning an act of violence to coerce a civilian. And so there's no question here, as we see it, there was a message meant to be sent by this killing, and coercion is part of it. So that is what they'll be discussing today in many parts. This is a status conference. We're not going to hear much about the evidence, but we probably are going to hear about the volumes of evidence as it relates to the amount of time each side needs to prepare their case and go forward.
And Mangione made his first formal statement on Friday since his arrest, thanking his supporters. Have you ever seen anything like this where you have an accused murderer thanking supporters?
There is an incredible outpouring of support here for him, and I think it is really just coming to show how the population feels about the healthcare industry. Obviously, this is extreme, as the act was so extreme. So to garner support, even in the face of what is looking like a murder, regardless of its justification, is incredibly interesting and really speaks volumes about where our country is, perhaps on its satisfaction with our healthcare system.
Well, this case, obviously, it shocked so many people. He was gunned down on the streets of Midtown Manhattan. Then there's this manhunt for him. Now you have these twists and turns. The defense website we're talking about, hundreds of thousands of dollars have been raised by supporters. How does this unusual fan base play into the case? Because we've seen women showing up at his first arraignment, throwing themselves kind of as fans of his.
I think that the defense will use that to their benefit. I mean, they are definitely going to try to get a jury pool that is sympathetic to this crime. I still think it will be very hard for the prosecution not to meet the elements of at least a second-degree murder, where the facts appear to be very in their favor as it relates to him actually committing the crime, but it may convince a jury or mitigate some circumstances as they do feel some sort of allegiance with this defendant.
You know, it's hard to find an American who's happy with their health care, right? Someone always will have something to say about it. So how do you find a jury that would not potentially have an activist sitting in one of those seats?
I think it's going to be difficult, because if there is an activist sitting in one of those seats, they are certainly not going to let that on during questioning of the jury. So it will be difficult. There may need to be some sort of background issues that everybody is exploring as it relates to how heavily someone is as an activist, but they'll certainly be asking questions as it relates to people's health care, their parents' health care, their loved ones' health care, and the prosecution is going to have to be very inquiring as to these issues, because there will definitely be people on that jury, no matter what, that simply are dissatisfied with the system.
Well, it's certainly an interesting case, I think, to say the least. So we'll be watching. And Rachel Fiset, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.